Before we begin, I just want to say everything shared in this podcast is based on my views, interpretations and understanding. I am not here to tell anyone what to believe, only to explore ideas, history and meaning together. Welcome, my daywalkers, my creatures of night, my warriors, my wanderers, and everybody else in between. Welcome to Leo's Infinite Frequency, and the Great Hall is now open. So, this is again one of the pillar episodes of the week. Today's Thursday's episode, and it will be on, today's on a ancient god, and his name is Odin. But before we get to that, and before we get into what's coming up, I'd like to obviously check in. First of all, say hello. Welcome wherever you're listening from. If you're new, thank you so much for finding the frequency and trying this out. Hopefully, you stick around. I'm truly happy at the moment. I'm living a very healthy, a very good life right now. And I've been doing lots of research, lots of promoting in the background. I've got some big things coming on to the show now. I told you I've got my friend's band who have, they've got an album coming out. I'm going to be having some of his music to give you guys a taste. And then we're just going to absolutely, once the album's ready, I will get it on here. We'll tell you where you can download it. And that'll be the music that I use in between my shows for now as well. I've got another friend of mine, so that guy is, their band's in America. I've got another guy who's in the UK who is in the mental well-being field. He's got direct experience, he's got lived experience, and he's got work experience within that sort of field as well. So he's released a book. It's an exceptional book. I'm just waiting for the copy to come through. I'll give it a read and then I will give you a review. And that's something else that I thought, would just be nice to have out there. And it also gives me something else to fill the gaps with in between. And it stops me having to go and use paid adverts and stuff like that, because I really don't want to. I want to keep this as it is for as long as humanly possible, because if it doesn't align with the frequency, then it doesn't belong. And this opportunity come up, two friends doing two different projects, and I can incorporate it within mine. And who knows, maybe you guys all like it, maybe you get something out of it. But it's just, we're helping each other build, so it's awesome. Anyway, so I've digressed a bit. Today's show is on Odin, Viking god of war. Now, what I'm going to do, I am going to grab a quick cup of coffee, because this is going to be a storytelling adventure, if you like. I'm going to take you on a journey, and this story comes from ancient times. Before there were sort of set religions. This is before Christianity. This is paganism time. Before Christianity is what paganism literally translates to. So really looking forward to getting into it. So go grab yourselves a coffee, put your feet up. I'm going to stick a little bit of music on. And then when I come back, you will hear the rip-roaring fire, because I'm going to get one going, sit next to it in the studio, and just take you, hopefully, on a journey that will immerse you within the faith and beliefs that I now follow. Remember, always check what I say. Don't take my word as fact. And again, I'm not trying to tell you what not to believe. I'm not trying to be anything other than I'm on my journey and we're exploring it together, which is so awesome. So I'll stick the music on and then we'll be back. I'll get the fire going as well. So give me a minute or so. so you should be able to hear the fire now. I won't have it too loud. Oh, it sounds like the weather's rolling in now as well. Well, what a better time to begin than now. So come in, my tribe. Get comfy. Sit around. Feel the atmosphere. Wherever you are, just settle down for a moment. Breathe in and breathe out. Try it without choking, hopefully. Because tonight, this isn't noise. This isn't distraction. And this is something that has survived longer than any of us. Not because it was written, but because it was worth remembering. You see, tonight we're going to speak of Odin. But not as a king, not as a god on a throne. Tonight, we speak of him as something far more dangerous. A seeker who was willing to pay the cost. The world before the choice. Before the choice, there was a tree. In the beginning, there was this tree. And it was not just a tree, it was the tree of life. Yggdrasil. But the spine of existence itself. Its roots buried so deep, far beyond anywhere, any distance that a man had seen. In places no one willingly goes, to the depths beneath, which have long since been forgotten. The branches stretching in all directions, reaching as far as the eye could see, and in fact beyond what the eye could even follow. And the thing with this tree, you see, everything touched it. Everything depended on it. And yet, very few truly understood it. Now, Odin, with his curious nature and his thirst for knowledge, he often stood before it. And he wasn't uncertain and he wasn't confused. But he was aware of something most weren't. Because he knew something most never accept. There is knowledge in this world that cannot be given, but only taken through sacrifice. You see, and to gain this knowledge, the all-knowledge, there was a sacrifice to be made. And Odin found himself before the tree with a choice. And it was a strange place to be because nobody had forced him. Nobody had even asked him. There was no crowd, no witness. Just Odin considering a great sacrifice and of course the tree itself. So grand in size, you could not see the top from the bottom. So vast in density, it expanded across all realms. And as Odin stood there, choosing whether he should, whether he would, and then all of a sudden, he chose. What did he choose, I hear you say? Please tell us now. Odin gave himself. He gave himself to the tree. And I don't talk of gently, not symbolically. He pierced himself with his own spear, a wound chosen, a pain accepted. He wounded himself, and he had already accepted the pain to come. And there, upon the tree of life, upon Yggdrasil, he remained. And he didn't just remain for a little bit of time, no. There were 9 nights of endurance, of sacrifice. 9 nights. Not a moment less. No food, no water, no comfort. You see, for this was the greatest sacrifice of all. No one came to help him. No one came to ask if he was okay. You see, this was not survival. This was endurance with purpose. Sacrifice with reward. The body weakens first, always. The strength saps from the body. The breath shortens. The chest expands less. Even holding on becomes a task. And then the mind turns. That itty-bitty committee, it questions, it doubts, it whispers in big voices that you aren't sure if they're yours or the divine. This was a mistake. You've gone too far. No one cares. Why are you doing this? But at this point, there was no turning back for Odin. He had made the sacrifice, and he knew the consequences. He knew the risk. He knew what was to come. You see, the moment he chose this, he chose it fully. He didn't hesitate. He didn't hold back. And so finding himself fully immersed in his choice, he found himself at the edge of breaking. By the later nights, he is no longer what he was. He's not the strong warrior that he was before. He now reflected the line between life and death. And it's no longer clear. Time doesn't move the same way in this space. Thoughts don't behave like they should. This place is most never reached. And not many would choose to be here. Because this is where comfort is gone, identity is irrelevant, and certainty is also gone. And all that remains within that space, within that realm, within that moment, is truth. And then comes the turning point. You see, then, in that space, on that edge, just on the brink of it all, Odin, he found himself not looking outward, not upwards, but instead he found himself looking down. But not for escape, and strangely not for relief either. He found something much deeper, and there, beneath him, within the fabric of existence itself, he saw something. He saw them for the first time ever, the symbolic runes, not symbols as we think of them, not letters, but they were forces, they were truths, they were power, understanding. They were never actually hidden, for he was simply not ready before. You see, knowledge does take sacrifice. Knowledge takes time. And in that moment, he didn't hesitate. He took them. Not as a gift, not as something granted, but as something truly earned. And as he did, as he took them in his hand, immediately he fell back from the tree. He wasn't lifted and he wasn't saved. No. He fell. And then he rose again. But when he rose, my beautiful tribe, he was not the same. For he had endured. He had sacrificed. And the knowledge and the runes were his reward. The return and what he became. Odin did not return stronger, not in the way most think. He returned more aware. He had seen what lies beneath, and he had paid the cost. And now he carried something no one else had earned in the same way. So that, my beautiful tribe, is the story of Odin and his sacrifice on the tree to gain more knowledge and the runes. So I'm going to put a bit of music on, and then we're going to continue and we're going to dive more into Odin. And what I'd also like to do is tie it into the recovery, which I always do. So before we put the music on, think of it this way. Now, this is where people get it wrong. They think this is just a story about God, alright? And it's not. This is a story about what it takes to change. Sit right there, enjoy the music, and we will get right back into it. Thank you. Beautiful tribe. So, now my tribe, we are going to look at the story in more depth now. I'm going to put it apart. And what we're going to do, there we go. Right. So, we're going to take it apart bit by bit. So, first of all, we're going to look at the tree. And you might be thinking, what the hell are you on about? We're going to look at a tree, you nut job. Every man, every person has a tree. Something he knows deep down he must face. It's not always obvious. It doesn't always jump out. There are some things that are more obvious than others. There are some addictions that are more blatant than others. But it's usually the thing that we avoid the most. The thing that you distract yourself from. The thing that we justify. Or we tell ourselves, I'll deal with it later. We're talking about addictions, pattern behaviours, relationships, facing truths about ourselves, The behavioural patterns was a big one for me to look at it, and there was patterns that I knew were there and I never really wanted to look at properly. But it's only through doing the work and looking that you can, and that, like I say, everybody's got their own tree. And I believe that you probably already know what yours is. That thing that just niggles at you. And you don't need anyone to point it out. It's the thing that just sits in the back of your mind. Like that, just gently tapping away. And the strange thing is, why do we avoid it? Well, we avoid it generally because of fear. Definitely because it makes us uncomfortable. And for me, a big one was always change. If I face it, then change is inevitable. And like I said, the truth is, honestly, most of us already know what we've got to face. Which is strange, because then we don't avoid it because we don't see it. We avoid it because we do see it. So you see, your tree is not hidden. It's simply ignored. Now, the next section of the story was about the 9 nights. And this is about endurance and sacrifice. And when you finally face the tree that you've been avoiding, it doesn't get easier straight away. It's not, miraculous that, right, I'm looking at it now, oh, wicked, oh, I'm done, it's all done. No. This is where people expect quick change and don't get it. There's recovery is such a paradox of events, because I really wanted a lot of change a lot quicker, and it's taken 5 years to get to where I am, and now I'm starting to see it. I think certain changes are happening quicker, but there is a point where it feels like it's been delayed. You don't feel better instantly. That I don't remember that ever happening. What I do remember is how uncomfortable I felt, how restless I was, couldn't sit still, hated silence, unsure of who I was, unsure of what I was doing, unsure if I should carry on, unsure if I should stop, unsure if I was really, if I really had problems, unsure if I could ever get over my problems. Just crazy. And then on top of that, when you bring in the early recovery, sitting with urges and things that I used to think were triggers, and sitting there trying not to act on impulses, on instant gratification, letting feelings exist without escaping them. That was impossible for me. You see, the trouble with modern life compared to the old ways, there's just constant noise, constant distraction. We're not used to sitting down with discomfort. We've been trained to scroll, eat, smoke, avoid. Those moments where you want to escape, but you don't. That's your sacrifice. That's your version of the 9 nights. Think about it. The moments where you want to escape, where you want to get away from it, you just had enough, but you choose to stay. That's you sacrificing. That's you in the 9 nights. Growth doesn't feel like progress at the start. It really doesn't. It actually feels uncomfortable. It feels weird. It feels wrong. And then endurance isn't about strength. It's about staying when you want to leave. Now, it may look like it's all about strength on the surface, but it's not. You don't need strength to make the choice. You just need to make a choice. And this is where most people quit. This is where most people turn around and say, no, I can't do it. So, before we get on to the edge of breaking, section 3, I am going to take another short break. And I'll put a piece of music on, and then I will be back, and we will go on to digest and dissect the rest of the story. So, thank you very much, tribe. I'll be right back after this. Doo-doo-doo. there we go. So that was Kevin McLeod. So we're now going to move into the part where no one really talks about this bit, because this is the edge of breaking. There comes a part, there's a point where you feel like you just can't do anymore. The mind starts pushing back. The voices start. This isn't worth it. This is too hard. Just go back. It'll be easier. The doubt starts kicking in and hitting you from all angles. Then there's the frustration as well. If you're, still making the same mistakes and feels like you're not getting anywhere. And these are dangerous times, because these are the times that can lead to a slip quite easily. The times when you question everything, when maybe you're just not sure if you should carry on, and your mind is trying its hardest to pull you back. The disease is in full flow. You see, I believe that the brain wants comfort, not growth, although growth is what we need. It wants to fight change. It doesn't seem to like change. It likes to stay where it is. And it doesn't matter if that's good or bad, because going through this process, you are definitely going to end up in a better place. But it takes real courage, real strength, to keep going, to keep facing those demons. And please don't think that you're alone when you're struggling. Sorry if you can hear Marnie snoring in the background. Please don't think you're alone when you hit these hard times. Some of the strongest advice or suggestions I was given was to make a fellowship of people that when things are going well, because you're going to need it in these times. And this is where people turn back. This is where we lose a lot of our tribe members. This is where we lose a lot of people in recovery. You see, your mind will try to convince you to quit. Try to convince you it was easier the old way. This is a lot of work. Nothing's changing. Everything's the same. And it's not because you're weak, but it's because you are actually changing. You see, this point where people normally walk away, well, this is the key moment. This is the exact point where the work starts to matter. When you've had enough of having enough, when you're fed up, when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, this is the moment. And for me, I think this is like the rooms moment. And if you stay long enough, if you work hard enough, if you don't let the voices win, if you don't let the doubt win the day, something shifts. It's not dramatic. It's not a huge boom moment. Not instant. It's different. The shift is real. You'll start to see things clearly. You start to notice more. It's like you're paying more attention, you're more aware. Patterns become obvious. And then that leads to you understanding your behaviour. And none of this happens instantly. I know I keep saying that. This is a lifetime long journey that I'm on. That moment when you realise what you do, that first moment when I saw a pattern or behaviour or reaction, but before they happened, that moment where something finally clicked. I mean, I'll take it back right to the beginning and early in recovery. I can remember the first time I was in an altercation and the old thoughts were there, which was basically attack, survive, and the new instinct was kicking in. Okay, I can feel that. It's there. And I'm still here. I haven't done anything yet. See, those are the moments when you realise that's the change. That's what we've been looking for. And we wouldn't have been able to understand it earlier. I definitely didn't. That whole scenario I just described to you, it took a long time for the program and for my spiritual way of living to start taking effect. We have to go through the hard stuff. We have to go through the discomfort. We have to go through the sacrifice in order to be given the runes. And the runes are the insight. The runes are where we can see the patterns, the old habits. Start seeing clearly. And then, once we've gone through that, there's the return, the transformation. And when you come through it, well, you don't come back the same. You come back changed. Not overnight. It becomes a slow, gradual change that many other people may see before you even acknowledge any of it. I know people were telling me they saw the change long before I could see it. But because of the journey, the thinking process became different. The way I reacted was different. I was able to see things differently from different points of view. I didn't always understand it, but I started to see it. And you start to look back and you start to see the change and you're like, wow, this is happening. And then when you look back after a few 24s, you realise just how far you've come. And that's power, because when I realise how far I've come, I just want to keep going forward, and it makes it all worth it, and it has been. There are some things that others might not notice straight away, and things that you'll notice straight away. Changes don't always look big. It's not always on the outside. But things definitely feel different. You don't realise it at first. You don't necessarily understand it. But you've shifted. And I found it was, once I'd seen it, it's something I couldn't unsee. And it leads to seeing more and having more clarity and more understanding. And the absolute irony of this is that, or the paradox is that for me to continue to learn, I have to keep asking questions. And for all the answers I get, I just get more questions. And I guess that's the remaining teachable part. You know, always being willing to study, to learn, to grow, to endure, to sacrifice in order to learn, grow and rebuild and change. So, I'm going to stick some more music on because I would like to go get a cup of coffee. And then I will bring it into the final, I'll bring it all together. And then we'll probably have a couple of questions from the email address, see what's come in. And then we'll go from there. So, sit back, enjoy the music, and we'll be right back after this. So, now what we're going to do, we're going to bring it all together. You see, when you hear that story, don't admire it. See, it's not about Odin being special. It's about what he represents, what he shows us. Everyone faces something, even a god. Everyone has a moment, everyone has a choice. We have a choice whether we face our demons, whether we face these uncomfortable, difficult moments, whether we sit in it or whether we turn and avoid it. And avoidance is easy. Avoidance comes in the guise of fear, distraction. But I had to stay grounded and I had to face everything. And the more uncomfortable I feel at times, that's when I know I'm probably hitting the right nerve and I'm where I need to be. You see, this story isn't about mythology. It's actually about reality. You don't need a tree. Life will give you one. The only question is what do you do when you find it? What do you do when you find it? So that's the story of Odin and how he gained the knowledge and the runes, and I hope it, I've tied it into life as well. So what we're going to do, we are now going to go across to a questions corner, because I had two questions come in as I was recording and researching for this show. So it was brilliant, and I think they slot into this bit quite well. So question one was avoidance versus facing it. How do I know if I'm actually facing my problems, or just telling myself I am while still avoiding the real issue? How do I know if I'm actually facing my problems, or just telling myself I am while still avoiding the issue? Well, this ties directly into the tree in the story, like, are you being honest? Are you deceiving yourself? Because avoidance can be quite subtle. You hear about this as an honest journey, and in the beginning, I thought I was always being very honest, and as time goes on, you start to see where perhaps you haven't been, or for me, that's what happened. And if it was probably what I noticed is when I started to feel uncomfortable in the beginning, that's when my avoidance and my fears would take over. And eventually, I started to realise that whilst I was still comfortable, I'm avoiding it. That was I knew when I'd hit the moment or hit the right spot, because it began to get uncomfortable. You see, facing things should feel uncomfortable. It's natural, that's what happens. It feels uncertain, even a bit painful. It feels real as well. It's different when we're just trying to fake it. So, for me, you'll know when you're uncomfortable. The next one that came in was about breaking point. What do you do when you feel like you're at breaking point? Like you've gone too far and you just want to give up and go back to things how things were. Sorry. What do you do when you feel like you're at that breaking point? Like you've gone too far and you just want to give up and go back to how things were? Well, this ties into the 9 nights in the story when Odin was sacrificing himself on the tree. You see, the 9 nights represents the endurance, represents the struggle. This is the part where you're ready to give up. Like, can you take any more? He went 9 long nights, endured. We spoke about how they felt like an eternity. And then, those 9 nights will consist of the mental battles. The voice is telling you, it'd be easier to give up. Oh, why are you doing this? Oh, stop it. And it's the staying versus the quitting. And that's the breaking point. That's what you have to get through. That's the uncomfortable part. There is no way to get to where you want to go without going through that process. That moment is part of the process. That's where most people turn back. just you remember, you don't need to win the whole battle straight away, but you do need to stay in it. You do need to stay firm. You do need to hold. And it won't be easy, it won't be comfortable, but it will be worth it. That I can promise you. So that was 2 questions this week from some of our tribe members around the world. I absolutely love you all for that. And it actually brings me into something that happened this week with me and Marnie Moo. And this wasn't some big, huge moment that anybody watching us would have seen. But it was real. And it connects more than you might think. So, Marnie and I were sitting indoors. We was recording this show, actually, the first few segments. And we was both a bit restless, and I couldn't quite get the recordings how I wanted. So I looked at her, she looked at me, and there was this knowing look. We're going out, aren't we? Yes, we are. Where are we going? Don't know, let's just get dressed. So did that. She's bouncing about. Anyway, we went for a walk, and we went along the canal. We went through the reservoir, along the canal, and ended up in the city centre. And the walk itself was just pure bliss as well, because we were just walking. Didn't really know where we was going. I was thinking about maybe getting something to eat, maybe a coffee, but the whole experience was just nice. We was out. Now, what made this different from normal is we're comfortable. We're in a position where we're actually a bit comfortable, and we decided to, we went out and we had a few quid in our pocket, which meant I felt free. And we was out in the world. So we got into town, the atmosphere was nice. I could smell burgers. That's all I could smell. And Marnie wanted a burger. And I looked at her, we sat down, we decided. So we sat on the bench. We decided what we was going to eat. She said a burger and I wanted pizza. She was like, no, I want burger. So obviously we ended up having burger. But it was difficult because so once we decided where we was, what we wanted, we then went for a walk. Now, amazingly, as big as the Birmingham is, it was difficult to find a place that fitted both Marnie and myself, and that also allowed us both in. Surprisingly, I had rejections over Marnie, and Marnie had rejections over me, so that was quite comical. And the worst one I felt was, I'm not going to name the bar. There was a doorman on. I got there and I was told it was a private event. I thought, fair enough. I know I went to walk away, and then a group of 4 people turned up. And anyway, it doesn't matter. Does not matter. I rose above it. I didn't react how I used to react. I said, come on, Marnie, we'll find somewhere. And we kept walking. And in the end, we found, I believe it was called The Picture and the Piano. And it's right by the canal. And they've got a balcony that overlooks the canal. And it was just beautiful. And when we got there, I went in and sort of just stood by the door. And the manageress came over, and she was so happy. Because they are a doggy-friendly place. They've been trying to get more doggies in. So then she asked if Marnie could, if she could take pictures of Marnie. And of course, Marnie sits there, puffs her chest out, and she's having her photos taken because she's going to go on their website, and because they want to encourage dogs. So that was awesome. That was a beautiful experience. And then they took us through, and on the balcony it was on the floor they put AstroTurf, so it was really comfortable for her to lay on. And then got us a coffee, I had a burger, Marnie had, so I had a burger bun and chips in the works. Marnie had some chips and a couple of, I bought her 2 patés, burger patés they brought out for it. It was lovely, absolutely lovely. And I sat there, having a cigarette after my meal, realising that I don't know the last time I did something like that for myself. And to go out to dinner with the absolute best company in the world was awesome. And I will put a picture up. I will. And I was able to do that because I didn't snap in the earlier part of the story. I did receive rejections, and one of them really stung. But I didn't let it sit. I acknowledged it. It was uncomfortable. But I also believe in the way of my life, in that I always end up where I'm supposed to be, and I'm always already right where I'm supposed to be in that moment. So I held out, and I'm glad I did. And it was the whole evening. I had everything. I had rejection. I had movement. I had progression. I had it all absolutely made me feel amazing, and I was very proud of myself in that moment of how far I've come. You see, in the past, definitely early in recovery, that rejection would have sent me home, or I would have reacted emotionally, and there would have been a whole different outcome. So you see, sometimes you've just got to stay in it, just long enough for something better to show up. You see, just let it naturally feel like. It's not quitting, it's endurance. You see, we have to stay there, stay in present. So I hope you've enjoyed today's show. I hope it gives you some kind of guidance. I'm working on that bit. So what we're going to do, we're going to wrap up the show. I really enjoyed today. I hope you enjoyed that story about Marnie and myself Marnie and I going to dinner. It was awesome. We are going to wrap up, and then we are back on Sunday. Don't forget, we're looking at a spiritual leader. I think I might do a couple of spiritual leaders from different continents around the world. So yeah, I am going to wrap it up. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for tuning in wherever you are. I hope you've enjoyed the show today. You can see I'm working on my craft. I'm adapting. I'm changing. I'm just trying to, and I can only talk about my journey and my life, and I'm not an expert. I don't pretend to have all the answers. In fact, I've got more questions than anything else, and I just enjoy the fact that we can move through this journey together. And remember, if you've got any suggestions, any questions, any shows you want to, any episodes you would like me to do, then just email in. Don't forget the email address will now be up on the bottom of the description as well. So thank you again, my day walkers, my creatures of the night, my warriors, my wanderers, and everybody else in between. I hope you have a beautiful day. Skull.